everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Megan Glenn, and I am joined here by two of my favorites in the media industry, Mr. Tom Donahue, who is from Ground Truth, and Mr. John Ziegler, who is from Sinclair Broadcasting. Just wanted to touch base today on why TV is the most undervalued medium out there at the moment. Let's take a minute just to do some intros. John, you want to tell everybody where you're from,
sure.
what your story is?
John Ziegler, Chief Marketing Officer of Sinclair Broadcast.
Tom Donahue, Vice President of Connected TV and OTT at Ground Truth.
Just genuinely hoping for just like a little bit more meat to those intros there. You guys kind of left me hanging just a little bit.
I like long walks in the rain.
That's great. Okay,
puppies.
all right. I'm going to stop you there. That might have
like
been
a good puppy.
little bit enough. All right, well, we do only have a couple of minutes, and I know that we are all very big talkers, so I think we can jump right into it, right? So, listen, TV has always been considered a very top of mind, top of funnel advertising medium and a pure awareness play. How are broadcasters moving that down? How are they turning TV into a lower funnel medium?
Yeah, me.
Who's starting?
Listen, it really is a full funnel medium. It is, and I mean, obviously we're talking about flow codes. If QR codes aren't in your media mix right now, if they're not in your marketing plan, you're missing out on an incredible way to connect directly. I think the awareness, it travels through the funnel. What's the bottom of the funnel? It's trust, right? Once I make that purchase, I trust you enough to give you my money. And local broadcasting still is one of the most trusted sources of information, period, full stop. So, I mean, those are my kind of two answers, Tom.
Yeah, no, I think getting the reach, the frequency, it's not the right word, but the tonnage associated with local media, and especially around linear, gives you the opportunity, at least from a flow code point of view, from a quick response code point of view, to get to that, what Megan and I call the front door, where you move somebody from attention and interest directly to conversion. And you could do that with a QR code embedded into a local or a national linear spot.
Feels a little bit like we're leading this conversation here, but I have a lot of fun with this because as flow code, we kind of sit right in between the two of you. Obviously, Sinclair is a huge banner name in traditional linear. Ground Truth is making enormous strides in the CTV digital space, and flow code is really the technology that gets to kind of sit right in the middle. And so I love asking this question: how do online and offline channels work together to drive that first-party data experience?
Convergent TV. That's my favorite phrase is convergent TV. When you have the best of the reach of linear as a powerhouse for driving your story, and you have the hyper targeting, the reporting, the audience measurement of connected TV, when you converge those two pieces together, you really have the best element possible for a client to be able to use a broadcaster like Sinclair in order to achieve their objectives in that convergent path. When you add in the element of a quick response code or a flow code, what you've done now is you've kind of amped up the value of that advertising in a way that allows my mom to reach into that product by scanning that QR code and instantly get access to the information that she needs.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that when you look at your owned assets, right, it's not just, okay, the linear, which is the top of the funnel, the widest reach, but you've got to make sure that every one of your owned assets are working in coordination, right? Does your podcast push to your newsletters? Newsletters send them to social, the social bounce them back, and the QR code allows us to point them anywhere we want them to go as long as it's a coordinated effort. And that's your data capture path right there.
That's what I was going to say, that's the data. Everything sits inside that data bucket. When you have the ability to utilize this technology in order to secure, at least get access to the securance of first-party data, you've solved a riddle that we're all going to be confronting pretty soon, right?
And we're fortunate, right? Broadcasting is legacy media, but the truth of the matter is every company here is a media company. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you're a car dealership or selling cameras. You're a media company. You're creating media. You're capturing data. You're learning more about your customer. You're creating bespoke, applications. So we just happen to be a legacy media company, but every company is a media company today.
No, but you're not, John. With all due respect, you're not a legacy media company. Your content is distributed in 100%. such a measurable way that being able to acquire first-party information just in that back and forth conversation that you have with a client. Put a piece of content up, client engages with that. You now can capture some first-party information on that. You can drill into that even further with, what we're both doing right now with these flow codes, which is kind of cool.
Absolutely, and we measure that linear leap, right? We measure that to and from, because I know if I got a QR code, I know exactly where they went, I know when they went there, and it's not just that. If I have a call out, send them to a URL or send them to a piece of social, I can watch minute by minute, did they actually do that? Yep. And every one of those, like you said, is a unique data capture opportunity, because your data capture's got to be bespoke to the environment. You can't ask the same question across every touch point.
Yep.
I think that's probably the most amazing thing is that as we watch this viewer pattern shift where it's not I'm going to go online to access my content and now I'm going to go watch my local news. It's like there's no drawing the line between linear and non-linear anymore, and your ability to really kind of shift your content from screen to screen and use flow code as the kind of conduit between the two, right? You're really creating, to your point, that bespoke content experience, because ultimately TV is TV, right? We're just talking about TV across big screens, and that's how viewers are kind of looking at content. Is it's just content. I'm just going to access everything on demand now.
Absolutely, and the 70%, nor 71% actually, people are engaged on their phones while they're watching TV. So they're already there.
Right.
Make that conversation happen.
So I saw something this weekend that I thought was really interesting. So University of Central Florida football had their spring game, and instead of having numbers on the back of the players' jerseys, they put a quick response code, in the hopes that the people in the stadium would engage with that player, get some player stats, things like that. And all I could think about was, I know I'm going to see Jay-Z today, and all I could think about was, if the local Sinclair station is running that game, their clients are seeing that moment of clarity for an advertiser, and they're going, oh my God, if that's happening in program, how do I take that out of program and then apply it to my clients, and then as a broadcaster benefit my clients, but also benefit my organization as well. I just thought it was like such a crystalline moment where it was even better than the Coinbase thing at the Super Bowl.
The Coinbase thing.
This was perpetual. It was in-game, it was constant, it was 50 players. And so you couldn't get away from the reality that this is happening. And if I may, quick show of hands, has anybody seen a QR code today? Anyone? So they're out there, right? So how is it that they're out there, we're using them, they've become very ubiquitous, not just in a COVID world, but in a post-COVID world where they have access points that we can now take advantage of. How is it that we're not embedding these in every single one of our TV spots?
Or everywhere, period. Or everywhere, period. It's all about a frictionless. Yeah, okay, we're getting woots from the flow code people in the back. It's about frictionless experience, right? Like, how can I move you from point A to point B as seamlessly as possible? Everybody knows abandoned carts are like every e-commerce's nightmare. You abandon a cart because something went wrong in the process. It was a pain in the ass to continue. I'm done. Right? And I walk around and can't figure out why I don't see more QR codes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How about, John, how about this? How about we all, certainly as local providers of advertising, we are all struggling with the monster that begins with a G, and and their search engine marketing, and how they get so much budget. What if we could just take this spot, right, and leapfrog the investment that we're making in search, right, to go from the spot to the scan and have a brand intimate bridge that just avoids that Google search and the possibility where you're going to be, eclipsed by your competitors who might outbid you, or you're not even buying at that point. You're on page 3. So how do we take that QR code? How do we make that an actionable moment inside of any of our content, such that it jumps over all of that other stuff and gets you right to where you want to be, which is a deeper, brand intimate experience with the thing that was interesting to you in the first place.
And I think realistically, it's so wonderful to hear you verbalizing that, because I think it plays so well into touching back on that COVID perfect storm, right, of instant gratification. If nothing else, we all came out of the last 2 years where we do everything on our phones. I can have my groceries delivered, my meal ordered, my content, my social, everything is, I think we're getting time.
10.
Yeah, 10. All right, cool.
Yeah, you can get it all.
Literally all. And so it almost begs the question, how were we watching unshoppable, uninteractive TV before this?
Years.
I don't know. That it's just
John, for 50 years. We're both in this business, right?
Yep.
And I wandered around at Tribune for years, and never once did it cross my mind that this might be something we should do. Remember, Jessica? Like, never once did we consider our 42 TV stations should be embedding these QR codes, because maybe the technology wasn't there yet, because we all didn't have a phone that had a camera that was QR scan accessible. But we're there today, and it's not going away. And so if we can use this technology to facilitate these client interactions in a frictionless and seamless way, get people what they want, but get our clients to achieve their objectives too, and by the way, it's measurable, man, this is a good time, you know?
Yeah. Listen, I want to talk about measurability and conversion rates. So, not something that's been traditionally a strong suit with traditional media, and then CTV and digital technology came around and kind of spoiled people with metrics, right? And then everybody kind of said, okay, well, what's the deal with broadcast? Like, how do we get a little bit more information on this? And now I'm wondering, how can we use TV, maybe we say just TV kind of broadly, to drive conversion rates that are higher even than what we've seen in the digital space?
I'll go. In November of 21, NAB put out a research paper, and like, if you told me this statistic, I'd call BS on it, but I read it in an NAB study. 19 to 29-year-olds trust local broadcast as their number one source of information. Now, I would have thought that was completely the opposite, right? They go to social first, they go to somebody's Twitter feed, and that's the holy grail. And I think the truth of the matter is, this is a generation that's grown up with knowing the trolls and the haters that live on social, and they're pushing back against that. So if the bottom of the funnel is trust, that conversion is trust, I lean into that statistic. I lean into the fact that people still trust their local weather person, they still trust their local anchor, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. You know, the foundation of trust, and again, think about this, Sal. If you have your 6 o'clock news, right, and so your anchors are there, and they're trusted faces in your living room, and your 19 to 24-year-old is watching, you know, to catch the to catch the first story, a local story, and there's a QR code buried into that spot, right? It can't be more trustworthy than that. There's just a moment there where that. Well, if they're doing it, then I think this makes perfect sense, and I can trust that this is a clickable moment that is not going to take me down some weird rabbit hole, right?
Right. Well, and I think it's so interesting too, and Sinclair is a really, really great example of this, of using flow code across ad environments and content environments. You guys actually did that really amazing activation using flow code for Ukraine relief. Yeah. And you know, it begs the question of like, conversion mattering even in organic content and in addition to the ad content, and really being responsive and optimizing kind of your content experience as a publisher for that viewer. And you know, I mean, it all, again, coming down and re-hammering that point of viewer loyalty and, you know, really kind of leaning into that, you know, ultimately, like I don't know, I suppose I look at that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, but ultimately looking at the idea of viewer loyalty, like that has to be the be all end all, because ultimately that leads to further engagement, deeper engagement, which then is monetized.
It's, you know, it's why do we engage in influencer marketing, right? Influencer marketing, you don't want to access that one influencer, you want to access that influencer's 30 million followers or 20 million followers, right? It's about a sense of community. Right. And local has that sense of community. Local broadcasting, Jess, 30 or 40 million last year we raised. $40 million that we raised in one local community after another. This wasn't Sinclair's parent company writing a $30 million check, $40 million check, sorry. It was community by community, and it was, the majority of that was through QR codes, right? The majority of that was people like, help out this local charity. Heck yeah, I will, because you're part of that community. That matters to you in that market. And that's, I mean, I think when you can engage a community around common interests and shared experiences and make it, as, again, the F word, as frictionless as possible.
I love it.
I like the F word, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Well done, well done.
That's not the first one that comes to mind, but different one.
Well done.
Yeah. Let me see here, I'm making sure that we are checking off all of our high points.
I was just saying, I can riff, man.
Do it. No, I want.
I got stuff.
Yes.
So measurability. Let's you know, if we're all media folks here and we're all selling, I'm on the sell side, but I care whether or not my clients can actually measure the return on investment of the things I'm selling them. Otherwise, you're like a thief in the night, and I don't like that. And so, I'm lucky in that ground truth is we were born digital and we have always been digital. And so we don't have any traditional media that we need to, kind of bring along. And so for me, the ability for me to take multiple attribution points in a consumer journey and introduce them in a 30-second connected TV spot is extraordinary for me. And having, we launched our first QR code campaigns in like July of last year. Because it was just, to me, I was like, let's try this. This could be pretty cool. And it turns out that for QSR in particular, it was really cool. And so, when Megan and I, and we've known each other for many years, Megan and I started talking about using Flowcode and their capabilities in their stack to replace the thing we were using, which was very limited. It actually took off. Our sales team actually really saw the value of doing this in a different, more branded, customized, bespoke way, as John would say. And so, for me, measurability matters. And when you can measure the number of scans that are occurring inside of a connected TV campaign, and you can quantify it for your client, they sit there and they're like, that was pretty good. And I talked about search before, and I always pull that thread. I always go like, oh, and you didn't have to spend a lot of money over there either. And they're like, we like that. Yeah. So it's kind of a double win if you do it the right way. But for me, measurability it's everything.
Well, and it's the implication, I'm so sorry, I'm jumping in on top of you. It's the implication of success based on real human behavior. It's not based on estimating a site traffic lift. It's not based on like an algorithm or a basic click.
No one scans by accident.
Right, you can't accidentally scan a flow code. Yeah. Right, no, that's exactly it. And it ultimately it comes down to, yes, tapping into the most sit-forward audience that you have in their most captive moment, who has actually raised their hand and said, not only am I seeing this content, but I am choosing to respond to it. And that's, really where we see the value of kind of the unification of our platforms here is like, these are real people who are loyal to a specific brand, right? There's loyal to these brands, and you're basically eliminating the friction with which they're able to interact with them.
I don't think John or I would care where they're watching as long as they had access to the things that were most interesting to them.
100%. And the ability to A/B test, your creative or your marketing messaging in real time, because you can change the the destination in real time.
Absolutely.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I would also say that the average adult's attention span is 8 seconds right now. 8 seconds. And so you put up a URL, you want me to remember the URL, then you want me to type that URL into my phone, you want me to wait for the URL to load.
Gosh.
Like, forget about it. I can scan and be where I need to be inside my ridiculously limited attention span.
I'm telling you, did anybody see?
6 seconds, all right, well, in
I was going to
it's
say
6,
maybe
right?
4. No, did anybody see Ernie Johnson during the NCAA March Madness, and he was, reading out this long contests and NCAA and enter this and enter that, and then he finally said, or just scan the flow code. And it's like, again, answers that question of like, why haven't we been doing this for longer? Oh my gosh. No, I mean, it's just really incredible.
And I know we're talking about local broadcast and the value that adding a code can bring to it. We use this, we own the tennis channel. We use it in real life. We use it, at Roland Garros. When you check into your hotel room, right there, you jump on the code, now you've got everything you need for the rest of your time at the tournament. So it works incredible. IRL as well.
Yeah. No, and to the kind of revenue generating standpoint, like there are some scrappy sellers across all of our media partners who are out there like, oh, I can generate revenue using Flowcode, making literally any surface clickable, going out and calling on every single business that may not be a TV advertiser, like may not have been a previous client, but they're like, oh, you're doing out of home. Let me add a QR into that. Let me add a flow code into that, and not only give you some metrics, but create an amazing marketing campaign based on just that. So that's exactly it. Like IRL, it has a lot of really practical use for human beings who are walking around wanting to interact with the world around them, but then for our purposes, I come from the sales side too, so I know your bag here, but
I think we're getting the hook.
Are we getting the hook? All right.
All right.
Well,
Thanks,
that's
guys.
it. Thanks, everybody.